하나 둘 셋. 마이크 테스트 하고 있습니다. 하나 둘 셋.
여기 앞에 요거 선생님이 보내주세요.
하나 둘 셋. 마이크 테스트 하고 있습니다. 하나 둘 셋. 하나 둘 셋. 마이크 테스트 하고 있습니다. 하나 둘 셋. 하나 둘 셋. 마이크 테스트 하고 있습니다. 하나 둘 셋. 마이크 테스트 하고 있습니다. 하나 둘 셋. 하나 둘 셋. 마이크 테스트 하고 있습니다. 하나 둘 셋. 하나 둘 셋. 마이크 테스트 하고 있습니다. 하나 둘 셋. 마이크 테스트 하고 있습니다. 하나 둘 셋. 아야. 하나 둘 셋. 하나 둘 셋. 마이크 테스트 하고 있습니다. 하나 둘 셋. 마이크 테스트 하고 있습니다. 하나 둘 셋. 하나 둘 셋. 마이크를 테스트하고 있습니다.
네, 안녕하세요. 제37회 코세타 학술포럼 행사에 초대해 주셔서 감사합니다. 우리 오케스트라는 2016년도에 창단한 이리 동중학교 오케스트라입니다. 원래 단원이 80명으로 구성이 되어 있는데요. 이 행사를 위해서 40명으로 이렇게 초대를 받아서 오늘 연주를 하게 되었습니다. 첫 곡으로 들으신 곡은 샹젤리제라는 곡이고요. 두 번째는 오펜바흐의 캉캉, 그리고 마지막 곡으로는 드보르작의 안토니오 뉴월드를 들려드리도록 하겠습니다. 감사합니다.
Good afternoon, everyone. We are so delighted to welcome you to the 37th Koseta Academic Seminar in this beautiful city of Jeonju.
Let us introduce ourselves first. I am Yu Byung-sun from Jeonju University High School, and
I am Lee Saron from Jeonju Pyeonghwa Middle School. We are very proud and honored to be here.
right, it's so nice to see all of you here today. Saron-쌤, today was so cold, wasn't it? I think the cold weather helped wake us all up and get ready for today's exciting event.
That's true. The cold outside is strong, but the warmth of the energy and excitement here is even stronger. It's great to see so many passionate teachers gathered here together.
You know, standing here as MCs today feels a bit surreal because as you know all, we were previous Koseta speakers.
Then, but at the same time, it was such a meaningful experience to share our ideas with all of you.
Exactly, and now it's an honor to be here again, not as presenters but as MCs, guiding this special event. It's another reminder of how meaningful and encouraging this community is.
Absolutely. We are excited to keep the same enthusiasm and energy going today. Let's make this forum a truly meaningful and memorable experience for everyone.
By the way, Saron-쌤, what is the main theme of this winter seminar?
As you can see here, the title is Embracing Digital Transformation, Diverse Methods for Teaching English.
Oh, I see. This year, representatives from 14 provinces have come together to share their outstanding classroom practices and innovative ideas.
Right, thank all of you for being here. Now let's begin the official opening ceremony of the 37th Koseta Winter Academic Seminar. Before we start, I'd like to ask you to turn off your cell phones or change them to the silent mode. Thank you for your cooperation.
Okay, first, let us take a moment to salute the flag. Would you please stand up and put your hand over your heart for the national flag to the front? 국기에 대하여 경례.
나는 자랑스러운 태극기 앞에 자유롭고 정의로운 대한민국의 무궁한 영광을 위하여 충성을 다할 것을 굳게 다짐합니다.
바로. Please be seated.
Now, I'd like to take a moment to remember a recent tragedy that has brought deep sorrow to our nation. As all of you know, on December 29th, there was a terrible plane accident at Muan Airport, and many precious lives were lost. Though some time has passed since this devastating incident, the pain and sorrow will still remain with us. As we are gathered here together, I believe it is meaningful to take a moment to think about and remember the victims. Now, I invite everyone to join me in a moment of silence to remember those who lost their lives and to express our condolences to their families and their loved ones. Thank you, everyone. When we come together like this, our condolences and prayers will become even stronger. Thank you.
Now it is my great honor to introduce our distinguished guests who have joined us today. First, we are very honored to have Mr. Seo Go-seok, the Superintendent of Jeonbuk State of Office Education. Please welcome him with a round of applause.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Seo Go-seok, the Superintendent of Jeonbuk State Office of Education. I'm honored to greet you all here, and I would like to extend my congratulations to all the secondary school English teachers from across the country. First, I would like to express my gratitude to Mr. Kim Jung-ki, the chairman of Koseta, and the Jeonbuk Seta executive team for their dedicated efforts in organizing this event. I hope this forum provides a valuable opportunity for all of you to exchange meaningful insights on English education and to become game changers in the field. Jeonbuk State Office of Education fully dedicated to helping our students develop into global leaders. To achieve this, we have introduced a variety of international exchange programs. Over 5,000 students have participated in our programs. Additionally, around 12,000 students have taken part in the online English home classes to improve their English communications skills. We also have 220 guest language teachers across the province. I'm confident that this academic program will make a significant contribution to the development of English education in Korea. To conclude, I hope your time in Jeonju will be a memorable and a great experience that will benefit your future. Once again, I sincerely appreciate your passion and hard work. I wish you all the very best. Thank you.
And also, we are honored to have Mr. Kim Jung-ki, the president of Koseta, and the district superintendent of Jeonju Office of Education as well. Please give him a round of applause. And Mrs. Moon Hyung-sim, the director of Creative Talent Education Department at Jeonbuk State Office of Education, is here. Mrs. Kim Nan-hee, District Superintendent of Wonju Office of Education. And Mr. Kang Ju-ho, the President of Korean Federation of Teachers Associations. And Mr. Na Chun-gyun, the President of the Jeonbuk Foreign Language Volunteer Association. And we have Mr. Yu Chul, the advisor of Korea Secondary English Teachers Association. And we have Jeon Sang-gi, a former president of JB Seta. And we have Lee Young-suk, a former president of Koseta and principal of Jeonju Girls High School. And we have Kim Yoon-ja, vice president of Koseta and principal of Iri Dong Middle School. And we have Lee Jae-chung. He's also the vice president of Jeonbuk Seta and the senior educational supervisor at Jeonbuk State Office of Education. Lastly, 14 presidents from each province have joined us today. Could you please stand up for a moment? Thank you all for being here today and making this forum even more special. Now I'd like to invite some special guests to the stage for their welcoming speeches. Let's now invite Mr. Kim Jung-gi, the president of Koseta and the district superintendent of Jeonju Office of Education.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Kim Jung-ki. I'm the chairman of Koseta. First of all, I'd like to begin by express my deep appreciation. I extend my heartfelt gratitude to the English teachers and native English teachers from 17 provinces. They have traveled to Jeonju despite the cold weather and heavy snow today. I'd like to convey my sincere thanks to Seo Ko-seo, Superintendent of Jeonbuk State Office of Education. He secured the budget and has provided necessary support to make this event possible. Please give him a big hand, please. My appreciation also go out to the 15 provincial leaders. They offered valuable advice during the two pre-meetings. They have ensured the smooth execution of today's event. Thank you again. I should express special thanks to Kim Yoon-ja, Vice Chairwoman, and all members of Jeonbuk Seta. Their passion and dedication have brought this wonderful event. I'm also deeply grateful to Professor Kim Jong-un from Jeonbuk National University, Lee Myung-ji from Seogok Middle School, and native English teacher Karishma Ramcharan. They will be delivering keynote speeches on immersion education, a program implemented in Jeonbuk since last year. Lastly, and most importantly, I wish to acknowledge the representing 15 provinces. They are here to share the invaluable expertise and insight they have accumulated through their work. Your contributions are at the heart of today's event. I thank you all sincerely. I'm delighted to host the 37th Academic Forum here in Jeonju. Since 1987, Koseta members have reviewed various English teaching methods and shared the results. And it has contributed to cultivate talent required by the global society. As the digital technology has advanced, the methodology and resources for language education are rapidly evolving. Additionally, the Ministry of Education has announced plans to introduce digital textbooks going into effect this year and to implement the high school credit system. With these changes, the theme of this year's academic conference is Embracing Digital Transformation, best method for teaching English. When I look at the titles of the presentations, words such as case study, AI, student agency, and project stand out to me. I expect today's forum will significantly contribute to the development of education in Korea. Before I conclude, I'd like to emphasize that your continued interest and participation are the driving force for the growth of Koseta's academic forums. Once again, I sincerely thank everyone for being here today. May the new year bring you peace, joy, and happiness. Have a good time in Jeonju. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kim Jung-ki, for your impressive remarks. 다음은 한국교원단체 총연합회장이신 강주호 회장님의 축사가 있겠습니다.
네, 안녕하십니까. 제40대 한국교총 회장으로 당선된 경남 진주 동중학교 교사 강주호입니다. 예, 제가 12월 10일 날 이제 선거 결과가 나오고 그때부터 이제 임기는 시작되었지만 어저께 취임식을 했습니다. 그리고 사실 오늘도 제가 한국경제연합회 아침에 일정이 있었는데 우리 김윤정 선생님께서 제가 당선되고 나서 연락이 오셨어요. 한 600여 명의 선생님이 오늘 이 포럼을 하는데 회장님께서 오셔가지고 한번 인사도 드리고 그 한국교총에 대해서 이야기도 하시면 큰 효과가 있을 것 같다 그래서 제가 오늘 아침에 빨리 그걸 끝내놓고 그 경제연합회 예전은 정경련이죠. 회장님하고 그 교육 대표님께 양해를 구하고 서울에서 빨리 달려왔습니다. 이렇게 열의가 넘치신 열정이 넘치신 선생님들을 보니까 너무 반갑습니다. 그리고 오늘 자리를 빛내주신 그 서거석 교육감님과 그리고 김정기 회장님 그리고 정부 세타 임원님들께도 정말 감사드립니다. 그 한국중등영어교육연구회 학술포럼이 영어교육의 새로운 방향을 모색하고 그리고 뜻깊은 자리로 알고 있습니다. 학술포럼을 통해서 영어교육 발전에 도움이 될 참신하고 다양한 방법이 논의되기를 기원합니다. 그리고 저는 과목이 원래 수학입니다. 그래서 오늘 좀 오니까 이게 영어하고 수학하고 좀 다르구나 느낀 게 되게 개성도 있고 이게 또 저도 학술포럼을 많이 갔지만 좀 품격이 좀 더 있으신 것 같습니다. 영어 선생님들이 좀 그러신 게 있는데 그런 걸 좀 많이 오늘 보고 있고요. 그리고 제가 서울에서 제가 좀 들었던 이야기 그리고 학교 현장에서 제가 학교 현장에 있었기 때문에 지금 선생님들이 어떤 어려움에 처해 있는지가 너무너무 잘 알고 있습니다. 저도 아주 어릴 때부터 꿈이 있었고 그리고 저희가 꿈이 교사였던 이유는 아이들을 너무 사랑하고 열심히 가르치기 위해서 선생님이 되었다고 생각합니다. 저도 그런 꿈을 가지고 교사가 되었는데 지금 학교 현장이 우리가 가르치고 교육 본연에 집중할 수 있는 사실 환경이 많이 되어 있지 않습니다. 그러다 보니까 열정은 민원을 부르고 정성은 고소를 부른다라는 이야기도 나오고 있고 그리고 열성적인 선생님이 오히려 피해를 받기도 하고 그리고 제 주변에 몇몇 선생님들은 학교를 떠나기도 했습니다. 그리고 신규 선생님들은 학교를 떠난다고 그러면 예전에는 저희들이 좀 말리기도 했는데 요즘에는 오히려 잘했다, 잘 생각했다 축하해주는 또 그런 분위기도 사실은 있습니다. 선생님들이 무분별한 아동학대라든지 그리고 비본질적 행정 업무 그리고 열악한 처우로 너무 고생하고 계십니다. 그렇기 때문에 우리가 본연의 가르침에 집중을 할 수가 없는 겁니다. 제가 그 상황을 너무너무 잘 알고 있기 때문에 저희 한국교총회장 선거는 한 전국의 그 대통령 선거 다음으로는 가장 큰 선거입니다. 전국 단위 선거에서는. 그래서 교장 선생님께 한 달 반 정도 연가를 썼습니다. 그리고 좀 양해를 구하니까 교장 선생님께서 행정 업무는 다 하고 가라. 이제 사실 학교에서 행정 업무가 CCTV 관리라든지 학교 폭력 업무, 그리고 그 지금 중학교에서 교복 공동 구매 업무를 했었습니다. 그 교복 공동 구매 업무라는 게 폴리에스테로가 몇 프로인지, 뭐가 몇 프로인지 학부모 선정위원회 꾸려야 되고, 그리고 학부모님들도 설명을 또 드려야 됩니다. 그럴 때마다 우리 선생님들이 또 굉장한 좀 자기감이 들지 않나 생각을 하고 있습니다. 그런 비본질적 행정 업무 완전 분리해도 경감이라는 사실은 말은 뭐 1975년 문구부에서부터 그 말이 나왔거든요. 그 말로는 절대 되지 않는다. 이제는 비본질적 행정 업무 완전 분리가 법제화돼 가지고 그걸 바탕으로 지자체라든지 경찰서라든지 이관해야 될 업무가 굉장히 많고, 그리고 학교로 행정 업무가 오지 않도록 학교 밖에 외청을 새로 만들어 가지고 그 외청에 장학사라든지 그런 분들을 많이 모셔가지고 그분들이 행정 업무를 하면서 우리 선생님들 본인의 업무에 할 수 있게끔 집중할 수 있게끔 저도 많이 집중을 하겠습니다. 그리고 제가 마지막으로 한 가지만 더 말씀을 드리겠습니다. 사실 제가 그 정치인들이나 이런 분들 만나면은, 교육부의 고위 분들을 만나면은 톡 까놓고 얘기해서 그런 얘기를 많이 하십니다. 선생님들을 굉장히 우습게 합니다. 선생님들은 조금만 이렇게 하면은 그분들은 단합이 안 된다, 결집이 안 된다. 근데 지지난해 10만이 넘는 서희초 사건 이후로 10만이 넘는 선생님들이 모여가지고 사실 교권 5법이 통과되었습니다. 우리 선생님들이 많이 힘을 합치셨죠. 하지만 이번에 그 담임수당이라든지 보직수당이라든지 그게 처음 생긴 게 1990년대 초반입니다. 우리 교총에서 만들었습니다. 그리고 올 3월에 교감선생님 직무수당 10만 원이 나오고, 그 다음에 각종 수당 같은 것도 우리 교총이나 교직단체에서 많이 힘을 쓰고 있습니다. 근데 선생님 그거 아십니까? 교총, 정교조, 그 다음에 교사노조가 크게 세 가지가 있는데 그 세 가지에 합해가지고 우리 선생님들 한 개라도 가입된 게 10명 중에 선생님들 한 3분에서 4분 정도입니다. 35% 정도 됩니다. 의사협회나 변호사협회는 99%입니다. 의사협회에서는 지금 정부하고 싸우면서도 뭐 잘했다 못했다 떠나서 그분들이 정부와 싸우면서 끝까지 흔들리지 않습니다. 끝까지 싸웁니다. 그리고 자기들끼리 똘똘 뭉칩니다. 그리고 제가 좀 들어보니까 그 똘똘 뭉치면서 그 전문의를 버리고 나갔을 때 선배 의사님이 후배들 힘내라고 돈도 200만 원씩 줍니다. 근데 우리 선생님들은 그렇게 좀 모이지 못하는 모습이 안타깝고, 그래서 저는 교직단체 하나 정도는 들어줬으면 좋겠다는 말씀을 마지막으로 좀 드리겠습니다. 그래서 좀 학교에서도 우리가 힘을 합쳐가지고 교육부나 정부에 당당하게 요구할 수 있는, 그렇게 함으로써 우리가 교사로서 본연의 업무에 충실할 수 있는, 가르침에 충실할 수 있는 학교 환경을 만들었으면 좋겠습니다. 네, 그리고 교총도 잘 좀 부탁드리겠습니다. 선생님 학술 연구에 좋은 기회가 되었으면 좋겠습니다. 감사합니다.
네, 강조 회장님의 따뜻한 격려와 또 응원의 말씀 감사합니다. Now it is time for the keynote speech session. Today, it is my great honor to introduce Professor Kim Jung-eun from Jeonbuk National University. Today, she will deliver the speech about emergent classes titled as Exploring the Cognitive and Emotional Benefits of Emergent Classes. Please welcome Professor Kim with a big round of applause.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jung-eun Kim, and I'm from Jeonbuk National University, which is just 10 minutes away from here. First of all, thank you so much for inviting me as a keynote speaker. And it's my honor to have all of you in this one of the most beautiful cities in Korea, Jeonju. This is my presentation topic: why English immersion program, cognitive and emotional benefits. As you can see from the title, I'm here to talk a little bit about what English immersion program is, how it is designed, and what benefits it brings up to our students, particularly focusing on their cognition and emotions. Between these two types of benefits today, I'd like to focus more on learners' emotional benefits, and I am going to explain why we should focus more on this aspect later on. Okay, before we start, let me introduce a little bit about myself. As I said, my name is Jung Kim, and currently I'm working at Department of English Language and Literature at Jeonbuk National University. I got my PhD at Georgetown University in the US and focusing on applied linguistics. Among various areas of applied linguistics, my research area centers around second language acquisition, particularly how L2 learners acquire and how L2 learners acquire second language. It could be child learners or adult learners. My research interests: second language acquisition and learning, English teaching methods and assessments, and recently, education and technology. Following its rising popularity, I'm focusing more on digital technology in language education. Okay, then let's start with the background of English education, English immersion education. So basically what I want to do is that to distinguish English immersion education from a regular English learning class. I'm going to read some key phrases and I'm going to read some key sentences related to English immersion education, and you will find out what aspects make distinction. The first line is English is the medium for learning various subjects. The second line says creating constant exposure to the target language. And also in immersion education, it develops English proficiency and academic knowledge simultaneously. So among these three lines, there are two key components which distinguish English immersion education from a regular English learning class. And those are subjects and academic knowledge. You can easily guess that in English, regular English class, students are supposed to learn English language. And that's the purpose and the objective for learning. But in English immersion education or English immersion program, students are supposed to learn some content, such as science, math, or arts. But one important thing is that those content, the content knowledge, is instructed and delivered using English language. So what students acquire is basically the academic knowledge, which is content knowledge. And at the same time, because the content knowledge is delivered in L2, which is second language, that is English, students simultaneously or subsequently acquire English proficiency at the same time. So, subjects and academic knowledge, you now realize that why those two terms or key ideas are highlighted. These are four possible versions for immersion program. There could be more than these four types, but these four versions are largely accepted by most of the researchers and educators promoting English immersion program. We're going to go over from the one on the right-hand side, full immersion and partial immersion. As you can easily guess from the title or its name, full immersion, it means that 90% to 100% of instruction is done in English. What about 10%? That is taught in Korean, in other words, native language. Partial immersion is like 50% of English use or L2 use, and the rest of 50 should be done in Korean. So basically, you can guess that because 10% or 50% should be taught in L1, that means that classroom participants, class participants should share the same native language. So the first two versions, full immersion and partial immersions, they have some common denominator that the participants should have the same language background. The one right there, double immersion, is slightly different. It combines two non-native languages. Regardless of the students' or participants' L1 backgrounds, two selected target languages should not be their L1. So for example, if I have Korean students, like 30 students in one classroom, or if their learning goals is learning Chinese and English, then class is done in either languages. The fourth one is two-way immersion, which is quite not possible. Like, it is likely to have somewhere in Korea, but not much often, because it serves two different L1 groups. This version is quite popular in Canada or in the US, where a mixture of L1 background students are mingled together in one classroom. So, for example, if I have English native speakers and Spanish native speakers, then teachers use two languages at the same time to support each other's L2 and L1. Then, the teacher's choice should be important. She or he should consider which design, which implementation of immersion instruction is the most beneficial for our students. And how do you decide that? It could be either partial or total immersion. And partial immersion, it means that you have 50% of native language, so you can support for beginners. And in this case, you can expect gradual language transition in one class. In terms of total immersion, on the other hand, it has intensive language learning because no native language is used, like it is not supposed to be used in class. So full language immersion is possible, full language exposure is possible. Okay, so this was a brief background of immersion class, immersion program. Now we're gonna talk about the benefits. Like having English immersion program in Korea or any other countries, would it be beneficial for our kids? So first aspect is learner cognition. Cognition is like their brain, their like thinking activity, their thoughts. Is it beneficial? The research has been done a lot in the US because they have some like complex linguistic history or background. And many researchers in the US found out that for their cognition, immersion program is good. Or in other words, bilinguality should be supported. There are many other cognitive aspects, but these four are like outstanding. First one is metalinguistic awareness. Metalinguistic awareness is like being analytic towards language. Awareness is like perception, and you perceive it as some subject, but metalinguistic is seeing language analytically. I know you are all English teachers and you have encountered metalinguistic, this term a lot when you were preparing for the teacher's exam. The textbook's name, Teaching by Principle, Douglas Brown, right? There should be a chapter for interaction hypothesis, and there appeared the notion of corrective feedback. And there you have encountered metalinguistic explanation as one of the corrective feedback versions. For metalinguistic explanation, teachers are supposed to explain grammatically why students is wrong at that point. So meta-language, it means that using grammatical term, in other words, students or teachers should be analytic towards the language. Using two language is kind of complex skill. So bilinguals or kids exposed to immersion program may have some unconscious chance to compare two languages. And then one can be more aware towards the language use. Problem-solving skills, being analytic associated with the problem-solving skills. So instead of seeing a big problem as a whole chunk, he can or she can analyze those chunks into small pieces, and can find out a better solution. Multitasking activities, yeah, of course. Using two languages at the same time is a multitasking. So multitasking abilities may be developed. Memory retention in neuroscience or neurolinguistics studies, there are some studies reporting that bilinguals or ability of knowing more than one language delays dementia or any memory-related brain impairment. Second part is L2 emotions. And I said L2 emotions. Well, the reason that I put the question mark in the end is not much research has been done for this topic. And also, there are other areas such as L2 emotions and L2 learning, particularly investigating whether L2 emotions, having a positive L2 emotions would support students' L2 learning. And here you can see their publication dates like 2022, 2020, 2002, 2000, 2003, pretty recent. But compared to this cognition-related research, which has been published in 2010 or 2014, here you can see I'm sorry, but I don't think the device works. Can I try? Yes. So compared to those studies, you can see that they involve more recent research. It means that studying learns emotion has been initiated pretty recently, and there are a lot of research questions undiscovered and uncovered yet. So boredom, L2 anxiety, L2 confidence, and enjoyment, some of these are positive emotions, some of these are negative emotions, and you can simply guess that, yes, having higher enjoyment, having higher L2 confidence supports L2 learning, while having higher boredom or having higher L2 anxiety hinders second language acquisition. That's what the previous researcher only found. Again, I think that investigating students' L2 emotion is more important, or could be like particularly important at this point, because we are particularly in the context of English as a foreign language, meaning that there is no available L2 input outside the classroom. Therefore, emotional states heavily influence second language gain and progress in Korea, which have English as a foreign language condition. Therefore, addressing L2 emotions leads to better learning engagement and long-term success in L2 learning. Now, because I mentioned L2 emotions, I'm going to show you which emotions are considered pretty hot these days in our research. First one, you might not be that familiar with these topics, but this is one of the most hot topics these days for educational psychologists: mindsets. They say that there are two types of mindsets. One is fixed mindset, and the second one is growth mindset. Fixed mindset is about belief that language ability is static and unchangeable. So students with higher fixed mindset, they believe that they are, I'm gonna naturally fail. I can't do this, I can't deal with this. This is not my thing. So it is difficult to change how good you are at English. But students with higher growth mindset, they believe that language skills can be enhanced through effort. So they tend to put more effort for learning because they believe themselves to be a winner. So they say in learning a second language, if you work hard on it, you will always get better. And the rest three emotions, you might be quite familiar. One is enjoyment, second one is anxiety, and the third one is boredom. The notions are pretty straightforward. So enjoyment, students think, I'm looking forward to learning a lot in this class. This class means English class. Anxiety is like to be more anxious. You get lots of stress. So they say, because I'm so nervous, I would rather skip the class. Boredom, you feel English is boring, so English bores me. This is what students having higher boredom rate feels all about in English class. Previous research has been done lots of finding. For L2 mindsets, they found that growth mindsets foster L2 success, while fixed mindsets hinder progress. For enjoyment, anxiety, and boredom, they repeat that alto enjoyment enhances learning, while anxiety and boredom hinder it. So, based on these findings, these previous findings, we wanted to find out whether alto immersion program would be really good for our middle school kids. And it should be partial immersion because our middle school kids were intermediate level of English proficiency. We conducted a research at Seogok Middle School, which is located very close, just 2 blocks away from here. This is Seogok Middle School, and there were 2 science teachers. One was Miss Myungji Lee, and the other one was Miss Charisma Ramchuran. They are seated right at front, and they will have the presentation right after me. There were 2 science teachers, and it was a partial immersion class. Miss Lee mediated the class in Korean, and Miss Ramchuran mediated the class in English. And there were 108 number of students, middle school students, 52 boys and 56 girls. The mean age, the average age was 14. So we collected data in this way. At the beginning of the semester, we collected students' background information and then measured their fixed growth mindsets, enjoyment, anxiety, and boredom rate using the questionnaire. There were 8 items measuring students' fixed and growth mindsets. Enjoyment, anxiety, boredom, we had 5 to 6 questionnaire items. At the end of the semester, which was December last month, we conducted the questionnaire one more time, the same questionnaire sets, and we measured their fixed growth mindsets, enjoyment, anxiety, and boredom. So in this paradigm, we wanted to measure whether they developed or they increased, decreased, or the levels were the same. Before I share the results of the study, this was the rate, this was the score we got at the beginning. You can see that our students has quite low fixed mindsets, quite high growth mindsets. It was measured by the 5-point Likert scale. 1 was unlikely, 5 was highly likely, so 3 was moderate, in the middle somewhat. Not that much, not very much, not very much, but not too low. Growth mindset was pretty high. Enjoyment was in the middle, moderate level. Anxiety and boredom was relatively lower, but it was above 2. Now, what happened after a semester in L2 immersion class? First one, fixed mindset. We observed that their fixed mindset decreased, which is a good one. So at the beginning, they believed that I can do English well. This is what I am, what I'm like. But doing immersion class a lot, like 1 semester, and 1 semester later, we witnessed that their fixed mindset rate decreased. Growth mindset, it was increased, another good news. So at the beginning, it was 4.02, but in the end, after 3 months, their growth mindset increased. So when you combine these 2 results for the mindset, you can see that students got more confidence in learning English, and somehow they believe that maybe I can do English well if I try hard. Next one was enjoyment, and we can see that the rate of enjoyment, the score of enjoyment also increased from 3.11 to 3.31. I know it's a little number, but when we run statistical analysis, the statistics found out that this much of increase was significant. It means that students, compared to the beginning of the class, students end up with enjoying English more. For anxiety and boredom, we didn't find any negative effects, but we didn't find any effects. It's not negative, so that's a good one. I would not say it's a bad one because it was neutral. So for anxiety, their score, like you can see some decreasing trend, but statistically, the statistics said these 2 numbers are just the same, not significant. And also boredom, we also was not able to find any significant decrease, but there was some decrease in the mean numbers. Okay, so what do the results tell us? I'd like to summarize my research. The first one, the English immersion program may positively influence students' L2 mindsets and emotions, particularly enjoyment. But although we couldn't witness any significant decrease for L2 anxiety and boredom, still we can see that some trend of decreasing, so that's not a bad one. Increased growth mindset and enjoyment, along with the decreased fixed mindset, suggests that immersive approach effectively foster the supportive and dynamic learning environment. And soon, very soon, after my presentation, you'll find out that how those two teachers were able to create the supportive and dynamic learning environment. The third one is that minimal changes in anxiety and boredom imply that some emotional aspects may require more time to improve, because we had only 3 months of exposure to the immersion program, but still we could find some decreasing trend. We guess that if we have longer period of time of exposure, we might be able to see some positive effects for those two emotions. And the results highlight the program's potential for long-term impact on students' learning attitudes. Okay, so this is my presentation, and I hope this was a very informative for your future career and your the employment of your future class. And we'd like to invite 2 teachers and hear what happened in their class. Thank you very much.
Hello, my name is Myungjil Lee, and I'm a science teacher at Seogong Middle School. I conducted immersive classes for a year, and the presentation will be conducted jointly by myself and the native speaking teacher. The presentation will be divided into 4 parts. First, I will provide basic information about the English immersion classes. The target group is 114 first grade students at Seogong Middle School, and the subject is science. The reason for selection is that first grade science has relatively less content and it's easier than the second and third grade. Also, there is the free semester system, and it is their first year in middle school. These characteristics make it well suited for adapting to the new teaching method of immersive learning. Secondly, I will talk about approaches to teaching. I changed the teaching method 3 times while running immersion classes. I would like to explain this process. The goal of immersion classes is to improve both science and English skills at the same time. I wanted my students to hear and use as much English as possible while learning scientific concepts. So, I decided to teach all lessons completely in English, but students need time to take science classes in Korean. So, I used the flipped learning. Students had to watch videos explained in Korean before the class. At first, students were excited and interested in this new teaching style. But the students lost interest in watching the videos. I thought it was because the students' motivation had decreased. To boost their motivation, we tried an English performance assessment. But their motivation went up for a short time and then dropped again. As students' motivation and participation dropped, I realized I needed to change my teaching method. For the second approach, I decided to mainly teach in English, but added Korean explanation for important concepts, and maintained flipped learning. This approach helped reduce the burden and difficulty compared to the first approach. However, students with low English skills had difficulty and were not interested in the class. When using the first and second teaching method, I noticed that students felt the lessons were hard, but they answered questions quite well. Also, their performance on English assessment was not bad, so I thought they understood the material. However, the results of the first midterm exam were very low. After talking with the students, I realized that while they could translate to English, they had trouble fully understanding and organizing the information. This showed me that we needed to change our approach again. Students needed more time with Korean explanations to understand the science concepts well. So, we tried a third method, which is 2 Korean, 2 English. In this method, lessons were first taught in Korean and then reviewed in English. Also, I discontinued flipped learning because it's hard to fully understand science concepts with just videos. This method greatly improved students' understanding of English lessons. They became more active in class and more confident in using English. Through this experience, we saw that the third method was the best way to reach the goals of the immersion class. Next, the native English-speaking teacher, Carrie, will present on the current immersion teaching method and the preparation process.
Okay, hello everyone. My name is Kerry. I will talk about the lesson preparation, the current teaching method, as well as the benefits of the immersive program. For lesson preparation, I will talk about 2 things: the resources that we used, as well as the steps taken to prepare for the lesson. For resources used, I used the Korean notes provided by my co-teacher. I used the Korean science textbook, translation apps, namely Google Translate and Papago, as well as Canva and PowerPoint. For the steps taken to prepare, it takes several steps to prepare for the English lesson. The first step is to translate. So I translate both the Korean notes that my co-teacher gives me as well as the textbook. Translation is important because I use Google Translate to translate the notes, and the translation is important because it helps me to understand the content of the lesson, but the problem with translation is that sometimes there are errors. Step 2 is simplification. For simplification, we try to figure out how to make the explanations easier without making the content incorrect. With simplification, I discuss with my co-teacher and we think about which parts might be challenging for the students. Step 3, production. I use the English translations to produce the English handout as well as the PowerPoint presentation. The English handout and teacher's Korean notes are the same. I then give the English handout and the PPT also mirror each other. So the English handout will have missing words like this. Each missing word is a different color on the PPT. So when students see the missing word, they know to write it down. I then share the PPT and the handout with my co-teacher. We try to remove any translation errors or incorrect examples. I also pay careful attention in Korean class. So I take note of what pictures or video teacher uses. I also think about what examples are given by teacher and by the students. Sometimes it's hard for me to understand, so I use Papago to understand what is said. I also search for other examples and uses online, and then I incorporate all of that into the English PowerPoint with visual aids. Step 4, experiments. So with the science program, we do need experiments. So first, I need to translate the experiment method from the textbook. I also ask my co-teacher for a demonstration. The reason for this is that I need to understand the experiment first before I explain it to my students. Also, it helps me to assist the students if they need help. Step 5 is to set up. So we work together to set up the required equipment for experiments, and then we do a test run to make sure the experiment works. Current operation method, Current operation method, as teacher said, we have the 2 Korean, 2 English method. So we have 2 lessons in Korean first, and then 2 lessons in English. So in Korean class, the students copy down notes from the whiteboard. These notes are organized according to their main points. And they also listen, answer questions, provide examples. Then they participate in an activity or an experiment. For example, we have an individual experiment as well as a team experiment for light. Sometimes it's not an experiment, it's a team presentation. For the English class, we start English class by giving the students the English handout. In order for the students to understand the English handout, they need to know their keywords. So we start with keywords and we do keywords in 3 rounds. So for round 1, the main focus is to have Korean translation as well as to introduce the pronunciation. The keywords in the handout and the keywords in the PowerPoint are in the same order. For example, number 8 on the handout and the PPT are the same. Introducing the pronunciation, some English words are really hard to say, so I write down a phonetic way to say it. For example, friction is friction. That way they can learn an easier way to say it. Students write it down, they listen, and they repeat. Round 2, the main focus is to practice the keyword in English and in Korean, so both the English word and the Korean word are on screen, like this. Okay. Round 3 is to practice in English, so only the Korean word is on screen, and students tell me the English word. For this one, the order is random. So I show students the Korean word, they tell me the English word. We also have a large whiteboard on the 4th floor, so when students walk by, they can see the keywords, and that helps them to remember. For the main content, we practice reading, writing, speaking, and understanding. So students fill in the missing words in their notes, and they also draw diagrams. The diagrams in the Korean class and the English class are the same, but now we have English labels, not Korean. To check understanding, I ask students, what does this word mean in Korean? What does this word mean in Korean? What does the whole sentence mean in Korean? So they practice translating. At this point, my co-teacher listens to the translation and she confirms if it's correct. If it's not correct, she helps them to find the correct answer. I also make reference to the videos and the pictures that teacher used in the Korean class. And if students use lots of English, we give them stamps on an individual stamp board. When students are hesitant, we remind them that the content in the Korean class and the content in the English class are the same, it's just a different language. So that helps to encourage more engagement, and we use lots of positive reinforcement. Activities can be either individual or team. We have used experiments, quizzes, and field trips. For example, when we studied rock types and minerals, they went on a field trip around the school. We have light and buoyancy experiments. Some are individual, some are team. We have verbal quizzes and written quizzes, as well as team mind maps. Example, the buoyancy mind map was made in English. Post-class analysis. After class, I think about how the lesson went and what we can change to make the lesson better. For this, I usually discuss with my co-teacher. So this is a pilot program, so essentially every class is a trial run. So sometimes we need to edit either the PPT or the handout or both to remove any translation errors or to simplify some points that the students found too challenging. Then I collect their handouts to check. This is to note down any common problems that the students have, and I put a note of encouragement or a stamp. For example, I have positive notes like good job, and I have other notes like please write neatly. Reflections on the immersion program. So the benefits of the program, there are several benefits, such as learning various English words. Because of repeated use, our students have learned increase, decrease, greater than, less than, characteristics. They've learned these words because we've used it so many times. They've also learned more practical English skills. For example, with this particular element, most people call it the back mirror, but students have learned to call it the rear view mirror. So they've learned that. Also, over time, our students have become more confident in using English. They express their thoughts in English now, they ask more questions and answer more questions in English. It's incredibly rewarding to see as a teacher, but as much as we have good things with the program, we also have a few challenges and disadvantages. And for this part, Imyonji Sam will tell you about it.
I faced four main challenges while running immersion classes. First, it was hard to get students interested and motivated in English lessons. Active participation is important for success in immersion classes. To help with this, I have been trying to increase student engagement through various methods. However, it was still tough to get students with low English skills interested in English-based lessons. Second, it's hard to do different activities in class. In middle school science, students need to learn and practice through activities that help build their science skills. But it's hard to do these activities in English because students might have trouble understanding those instructions and goals. Also, the short class time makes it difficult to include these activities. These challenges can make the lesson become more like a lecture or rote learning. Third, preparing for lessons takes a lot of time and effort. Sometimes there are translation errors in materials from the native teacher, which can lead to mistakes. Although we review those materials to prevent this, it's not always too easy to catch errors quickly. Also, finding new materials and methods to make English lessons more interesting takes a lot of time and effort. This can be a burden for the teacher. Fourth, it's hard to communicate with the native teacher. I want to try different teaching methods and activities to make the immersion classes better. But because of my English skills, it's difficult to communicate smoothly. The language barrier is the biggest challenge in learning immersion classes. Immersion classes gave me a lot to think about between science and English. There are also many challenges and mistakes along the way. However, I saw the students naturally learn English and gain confidence. This reassured me that the class was a great opportunity for them. Additionally, I believe it was a valuable experience for me as well.
Yes, the immersion program is challenging for the students and for the teachers, but it's also really rewarding when you have your student talk to you in English more. So I think it was a good opportunity for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you all, Professor Kim Jong-un, Ms. Lee Myung-ji, Ms. Karishma. It's very clear why immersion is important in English learning. I think her lecture provided us with valuable perspectives and thought-provoking ideas. What do you feel after you listen to the two teachers' classroom presentation?
Oh, their presentation was so insightful. I believe this must have been a wonderful opportunity for students to experience true immersion in their English learning, right?
Absolutely. By the way, Ms. Lee Young-ji introduced herself as a science teacher. Is it fair for her to speak English like that? I was so impressed by that too.
Yes, her ability to explain complex ideas so clearly in English was so impressive.
Exactly. It's a great example of how English can be effectively used to share knowledge across disciplines. By the way, is there anyone who has a question to Professor Kim Jong-un, Ms. Young-ji, and Ms. Karishma? 한국어로 질문하셔도 좋습니다. If you have any questions, please raise your hand. 없네요. 넘어가죠. Thank you.
All right, then the keynote speech session is over. And before we move on to the next seminar, let me quickly go over some details for the seminar. After the 20-minute break time, please move to each room to attend the concurrent sessions. For example, if you have signed up for the A sessions, please head to room A. As you can see in the brochure and here is a Grand Bella Hall, which is for the A sessions. And Selena Hall is for the B sessions, which is located right downstairs. And finally, those who signed up for the session C, you should move outside to the new building. C sessions are held on the Dages Hall, which is on the second floor of the new building. And in each room, we've set up Padlet boards for interactive engagement for the seminar. Please use the QR code in each room for the further questions or feedback during the presentations.
And there's a special note for the teachers who attend session B today. The lecture by Assistant Secretary Lee Yun-ju of the U.S. Embassy in Korea has been cancelled for today due to the official funeral for President Jimmy Carter. Tomorrow's lecture will proceed as planned. During the time of Ms. Lee Yun-ju's scheduled lecture, please feel free to look around in the book fair or take a photo and then join the next lecture in sequence.
And for those who forgot to sign the attendance book, please visit the registration desk in the hallway. Now we're going to have a 20-minute break. Please help yourself to the refreshments and don't forget your chances to explore the book fair. I hope you enjoyed the seminar. Thank you, everyone.